you are an entrepreneur and you basically work for yourself, or you're like a one-person business, you don't have that luxury of going and meeting other people within your business always. So when you are in a business that doesn't include a lot of other people and you feel like you're the solo entrepreneur, then going to networking is really one of the big perks. So we're going to go through 7 simple steps to follow that will make sure your networking is a success. And we'll just start right with number 1. And this is all in your handout too. So first of all, defining your networking why. Knowing why you are networking allows you to keep on track and show up with a purpose. I'll often refer to networking with intention or intentional networking. You know, you want to be able to create mutually benefit relationships where not only can you learn from people and grow, but as you get to know them, then you've got this wonderful referral source of people you can put out there. It is also great to get to know other people, not just their business, but what about them? What kind of person are they? What kind of person do you want to be working with? Ideally, if you want somebody with similar ideals as yours, and you can only find those things out by talking and building that relationship and asking questions. Know why you're networking, and then you can put it out there. Choosing a networking group, it can sometimes be difficult, and I get this question all the time. I'd love to network, but I have no idea who to go with, because you will get everything from free networking to networking which can cost thousands of dollars a year. There's expectations, and we're going to go into them one by one. When you are starting to network, if you're not already doing this, I recommend no more than 2 groups to seriously dedicate yourself to. Doesn't mean you can't go and visit others, but when I say dedicate yourself to, I mean it's part of what you do. It's part of your business plan. So looking at those networking groups is really a big part of it. And there's things you want to consider. What time does the group meet? Is it a time that works for you? You will find morning, noon, supper time, evening meetups. What works for you? Is there a fee? Is it maybe it's free? Some of them are free. Some of them are more of a social gathering, and you're expected to meet for a cocktail or something, which isn't, to me, really business networking. Some of them have a minimal cost of $10, $15, $20 a visit. Some of them have a membership of anywhere from $100, $150, $200 to $1,000 a year. Are there rules? There are some groups that want you to be able to give referrals every time you go, and it's expected. You actually receive a referral book that they expect you to fill out and bring to the meeting. You may or may not be comfortable with that. There's people in that group that could be your target market. Just knowing a little bit about you, you're a music therapist and you specialize with different types of people or children with special needs, behavioral problems, and also older adults with dementia, suffering from brain injuries, stroke, that kind of thing. So you have very different targets there. So your target market probably doesn't hang out there. You're not going to find these people, but you're going to find their caregivers. And that's what you need to look for. Is the meeting a formal meeting? Is it casual meeting? Casuals is kind of like the bar scene type thing, or the pub. Is it more formal? Is it in a community hall or a library setting or a other structured place? Is it educational? Are these meetings where you're going to actually learn something about either your business or about how to grow your business? And those are important things to look at. What else does this group offer? So after you decide where you're going to go, you need to prepare an effective 30-second intro. Now, 30 seconds doesn't sound like a long time, but you can do a lot with 30 seconds. And if you go too long, they've stopped listening to you. But if you've got 30 seconds, and we call it the elevator pitch, and I actually do one myself, which is 8 seconds, because maybe they're getting off on the next floor. So I've only got them for a very short period of time. Depending on your business, stock up with either a good supply of business cards or have a handout that maybe explains a little bit more about what you do. When you are scheduling or planning your business, you should schedule meetings, networking meetings, as part of your marketing your business. It really is one of the most important ways to do marketing in your business. When I work with my clients, I always make it part of their business plan. And you make it a part of it in so much as that if you've got a group that you are meeting with, and say they meet monthly or weekly or whatever the terms might be, schedule it right into your date book. Put it right in there so that you are getting that in there, and you're not going to book something else, because you have to look at it as an important part of what you do. Next, you need to set goals. And setting goals when you go networking, they doesn't have to be difficult, but if you went to a networking meeting, say once a month, and you always sat with the same person or persons, you're not going to really put yourself out there to get to know other people. So having goals like, I'm going to sit near a new person tonight and get to know them and how I can help them, maybe how they can help me. Make it a goal to meet up with 2 or 3 people that you can come back home with and then follow up with. You are not going to connect with every single person in that room. That's not realistic, and that's like speed dating. It's not realistic. It's not going to work for you in the long run. Make a goal to attend, to meet a certain number of people. It's kind of same as bringing home a certain number of names to follow up with. Following up is really the with each person that you do. So when you, sorry, I said that kind of backwards. However many people you meet that you want to follow, want to connect with, make sure you have the time to follow up in a good timing. And I'll give you a little bit more on the follow-up in a few moments. Make it a goal to send everybody you meet a new card or email saying it was nice to meet them. People like to hear things like that. Make it a goal to speak at your group if you can. Make it a goal to meet with one member a week to get to know them better, and seek out ways that you could work with other members. Okay, so still on the networking, getting involved, scheduled to speak at meetings if applicable. There's so many places you can do this at too, not just networking meetings, but to speak about your profession, what you do, and how it helps your target market. You can speak at a number of places, including some of the service clubs like Kinsman, Lions, these kinds of things. A lot of times they're looking for somebody to be able to speak at their meetings when they have their luncheon meetings. Actively refer people. So say you meet somebody in there who is an accountant and does bookkeeping services, and you have friends in February, March going crazy. I don't know, I hate doing taxes. You might, if you get to know this person, like them, you might refer them to that person. Volunteer or take on a leadership role. By that, I mean offer to greet people, be sort of the ambassador at the group when people come in, so that everybody is actually getting to meet you. If there's things that need to be set up, offer to come a few minutes early and help set up. There's different ways you can get involved in these networking groups. Now, follow-up. I talked about this very briefly, but if you're not going to follow up, then really you're just setting yourself up for failure. If you don't follow up after you've met somebody with a call, an email, or a note, then basically you're saying, sure, that was great to see you, but I really don't want to take the time to follow up and get to know you better. So always, if you're genuine about meeting people and getting to know people, always take that time to follow up. Make it part of your day. Schedule it in your day timer. It's part of your business, and you treat it as part of your business. When I go to a networking event, I don't hand out my card to everybody I meet. They ask me for it if they want it. I am also looking at people I might want to connect with further, and I will get their card, or sometimes they're offering their cards. And I would like to put that in my day timer, basically, to follow up within 48 hours. Depending on your schedule, that can be hard. And this is why you don't want to go to a networking meeting where there's 50 people and try to get to know every one of them. That doesn't work. Go 2 or 3 at a time. Then it's doable and something you can do. So that's kind of the networking part. And I will, we'll be able to ask questions at the end of all this. But now I want to go into, sorry. There it is. Wanted to go into the formula for creating your main 30-second intro. If you walk up to somebody and say, hey, my name's Janet. I'm with the Canadian Networker. That's kind of drab, right? You want to give them something more. Your goal should always be to put something out that people are going to say, I want to know more about her. I want to know what makes them tick. The ultimate goal is always to make your first impression memorable. So taking the time to make sure that your infomercial or elevator pitch is benefit orientated, so we sell on the benefits, that it's concise and clear, and it has a call to action in it, usually at the end. We'll go into this and break things up. So one place to start, well, the best place to start is, who are you? You need to tell them your name and perhaps a title if it fits and it's part of your brand. Sometimes what you do is even better than your title. And who is your target audience? Who are the people you want to be dealing with you, and what's the benefits of dealing with you? Is there the benefits of dealing with you? I want to try and make this, play with this a little bit, so you just bear with me. If I was going into a car dealership and I wanted to purchase, say, a Volvo, and I see them and the salespeople all around, somebody comes over to me, and I have a young family, And I'm looking at the car, and the salesperson says, these cars are wonderful. They're great. They reach up to blah, blah, blah miles per hour. They've got rear facing mirrors and blind spots. There's security car seats for children, ways of putting them in. You know, that all sounds good. They're all things. They're all different things about the car. You know, it's shiny, it looks good, blah, 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 and it has all the bells and whistles. Well, that's fine. But I'm standing here with, you know, a couple of my children, and they're 3 and 5, and I'm thinking about their well-being and safety. So if you said to me, here is, you know, this vehicle is designed with the seats and the side panels and airbags to protect your child on your journey. If you're telling me you're going to protect my child, I'm going to respond to that on an emotional level. And people buy on emotion. So what are you going to do for me? Your vehicle is going to protect my child. The other person said, your vehicle has, you know, 7 airbags and goes, you know, 140 miles or an hour or something. It's really what you need to look at is, what are they giving you that you can actually work with? I want to know that my family's going to be safe. Sorry, I didn't have my notes in front of me for that, and I had a lot smoother way of explaining it, but I think you get the idea. We want to buy on what it's going to do for us. We buy on emotion. So the results of working with you, what do your clients expect to happen as a result of working with you? Is it addressing their main pain? So let's take somebody with an adult who has had a traumatic brain injury. And I can speak to this. It happened to my husband 24 years ago. So musical therapy, I know would have been beneficial for him. And I can say that with all honesty, though not knowing so at the time, because I used to bring in his favorite music and play it when he was in a coma for months. And I would just play it and let it play over and over again. And I really feel that did help him. I felt it helped him stay somewhat optimistic and in the present. And just to let you know, 24 years later, he's still here with me. So just so you know that. It is really, that would address the pain. Like, how do I deal with this? What can you do for me? You all have really special, wonderful gifts. You use music to help people and teach them how to use it. And I'm sure play. I'm not 100% sure on all the things that you can offer, but I do know that when you can talk to a potential client and say to them, what I do for you is going to help you. It's going to bring about more confidence, a change. It's going to be something that's going to help him or her relax. I can't imagine how helping people with, say, Alzheimer's, dementia would work, but I know that so many things are going on in their brain at the same time that the music can help them relax, I believe. So you need to really talk about that. What can you do to help them address their pain? That's the biggest thing here. So what happens you know, when you put all these parts together, so you've got, you know, your why, you've got what you do, you know who your target audience is and the benefits of dealing with you and what the results can be working with you. Now, if you can have a catchy ending, like a special offer, something that you can put out there that's a call to action, that can be, you know, a big thing too. I think I probably gave you one or two examples in the handout, but letting people know how you can help them, and then saying, how can I start helping you today? Putting it out there. It's a call to action. When you're asking a question, it should always be what we call open-ended, so that when you ask, how can I help you today? They can't say yes, they can't say no. There has to be some sort of answer to that. If you ask a question as, what did you think? Was this good? Is this something that would be of interest to you? Then you can answer yes or no. And that, you know, can sometimes end the conversation. So putting it so that there's a special offer or call to action. So you put all these things together. I think on the, I call it a word scramble. You put everything together, and then through this, you make your introduction. So you take a little bit of everything and just round it out. And then the big thing to do is to practice it, to be able to practice it with people you know, work on it in front of your mirror, time yourself. And seriously, I say that. There are some groups you will go to where they will give you only X amount of time, and the most common one is 30 seconds, and then you're done. So you don't want to be in the middle of it and then finished. Another tip I can add is when you are introducing yourself to somebody, have, you know, a really great opening, something that catches their attention, and end it with who you are. My name is Janet Benedict with the Canadian Networker. And the reason I say that is if you say it at the beginning and they're paying attention, but by the time you finished your intro, they've forgotten your name. Don't have to always use your last name. You know, sometimes I just say, I'm Janet, and that's fine. Some people like to begin and end with their name and what they do or the business they're in. Whatever is comfortable for you. And that's the most important thing. Make sure you are comfortable with it. If you are not comfortable, they will hear it. And it's not about sounding kind of like pat, like you are making, like you've been rehearsing this. It's not that at all. It's a case of being authentic, being real, being that person. You have your own style. You have your own style of teaching. You have your own style of treating people. And that needs to come out in your explanation of what you do and who you are as well. So that, probably the biggest part now is to put the whole thing together, like I said, and put together your introduction. The kind of to the part now where you may have some questions and I can fill in maybe some of the gaps that you have. Okay. Up.
Janet, I have a question. How do you find the networking groups? Like what's a resource where you can actually find the groups?
Okay. All right. Can I ask what general area everybody's in? Like, is it in Waterloo region or beyond? Ottawa, Greater Toronto. Okay. All right. So different. Actually, honestly, the best way, Kitchener, okay, that's where I am, Kitchener, Waterloo, Guelph. So it really is, if you are in any city, you can go into Google and look up networking in your city. The other way to do it is through other people you know, like where are they going? What are they doing? They could be in any type of business, because like I said, if you, for example, if you're in Kitchener and you wanted to come to the Canadian Networker, you're not going to find people there that have dementia and Alzheimer's most of the time anyway. There are people that are running businesses, but they are also children. They are parents. They are people who are looking after others and know other people. So that is why you're networking, so you can get to know more people. But Google is often the best way. The Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge area, I actually keep a list, which I do send out to my connections to let them know of other networking groups, because you certainly don't have to be at all of mine. You know, there's other ones. And again, depending on day, time, and what you want to spend on networking. And, you know, you always need to look at networking as, you know, what is the return on your investment? And your investment, if that could be monetary to a certain extent, but also it's your investment of time. It takes your time and your energy to go there. So you need to look at that. And is that going to work for you? Okay. Did anybody have a chance to look at the worksheet before we got on the call? It's okay if you didn't. I just wondered if you had time to do that and start filling it out. Okay, a little bit, yeah. And no, I get it. All right. Okay, because that, if you take that and break it down and do those kind of ABCs of it all, it really does help make more sense. When you are looking for a group to go networking in, you know, and one of the big things is probably where does my target audience hang out? And like I said, your target audience isn't likely to hang out at networking groups when I'm that you're looking for children that you want to work with. Hello? I don't know what happened. Okay, everything shut down here and now it seems to be back. And let's go back into the chat. Okay, thank you, Julia. All right, at least I know you can hear me because it really went strange here for a minute, but it seems to be back. So the exciting thing about networking is because you can get out there and meet other people and really showcase what you have to offer. Do most of you work independently alone, or are you part of a bigger organization? I know you're part of the MTAO, but are you part of a clinic setting, or are you more, this is what I do and I do it on my own kind of thing, where you have to, on your own? Okay, Jenny. Yeah, that's what I thought. This is really why it's important. Independence. Yeah, it's really important to network, because that's the only way you get to be seen and heard and known. You don't have people around you. Like I said, you don't have that water cooler in place for people to give you referrals and introduce you to others. So that being said, I do know of groups in almost every city. Because there are some that are national. I also do, I have my own networking groups in like Kitchener, Cambridge, and London, but there is other groups that I can put you in touch with. And what I'm going to do is tell Julia I am fine if you want to connect with me by email and find out more about where you are at particularly, and I can maybe recommend one or two places to get you started. Once you've got into one group, people in that group will tell you of other groups. Not always necessarily the facilitator of that networking group. They won't always tell you. I can tell you I will. I actually physically give people a handout front and back with places to network within our geographical area. So because it's a collaboration, it's not a competition. When people collaborate and help one another, it all works. It all works. It's really enough to go around. So I really feel strongly about sharing my resources with those that can benefit from them. And it's not all about come to my things, not at all. All right. I think Julia Mary Jo could probably tell you that, because I promote her group as well. Okay. Has anybody got any other questions at this time? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. Looks like everybody's muted and there's nothing in chat. Could be questions about networking, questions about putting together your intro. If anybody does look at this and then put together an intro and wants me to look at it for them and possibly help them smooth it out, I'm certainly open to that happening as well. It's not something that everybody can do right away. That is an excellent question, Danielle. Absolutely. And as you put it together, you will often see there's one or two different ways you can do your intro. It absolutely does make a difference who you're speaking to. When you're generally doing similar, but sometimes to change it up, especially if you start going to the same group on, say it's every 2 weeks, just saying at that, and you say the same thing every time, people tend not to listen enough, or they're not as open. So they go, oh yeah, okay, well, I heard what Danielle said, so I know what she does. I'm tuning her out, or I'm answering a text, which, by the way, don't do in a meeting. I hate that. But generally speaking, you want to keep it similar, but change it up a little bit, you know, add something that you haven't added before, or give a suggestion. Was like when you're dealing with a certain target audience, maybe you've only talked about that target audience, but you do deal with other people too, and you want to say, you know, I work mostly with people who've had traumatic brain injuries, but I'm very open to working with children with developmental delays. Maybe they didn't know that because all they heard was the brain injury every time, and they didn't hear that you would work with other cases as well. You also could add in things like you can keep it very business-like if you want in some settings, or say you're in a group which is primarily moms or moms and dads. You might want to make it a little more personal by saying, you know, as a mother of, you know, 5, or as a mother of, or as a child with a parent that has dementia. You know, I can certainly relate to how many of you might feel. So I think that kind of common sense, change it up depending on that audience and what you've got. You also, if you get into speaking at some of the service groups or doing a presentation, you can do more than one presentation, because depending on who's in the group as to what you might want to be talking about. If you've got mostly an older audience, you might not wanting to be talking about children with developmental issues, because maybe their children are all grown and they might be dealing with parents with problems or spouses that have dementia. So yes, absolutely change it up. Hope that helped. Good. I'm going to put down my email here if any of you want to, like I said, connect or run your um, intro by me. You know, you feel totally stuck, and I'm quite happy to, you know, help you. I think what you do is amazing.
Janet, I have one question, and maybe it goes kind of off topic or is a whole different seminar topic, but would you have any advice to, I know many music therapists, like we try and get contracts within, you know, long-term care homes or hospitals, but it's kind of hard to know who to talk to or what to say to kind of get in the door. Do you have any advice about that? Or like is there a formula, you know, that people will respond to your emails if you send it a certain way or something like that?
Okay. If you're going by email, this is very much like how most people work these days, is email, but you need to have an opening that's going to catch their attention. And by that, I mean, if it's like, I'm writing to you to let you know, blah, 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 that becomes boring. So if you put something in it that gets their attention right away. I've done some, well, not crazy things, but things that would surprise people. And I would say, do you know, and jump out with something and put it in italics or put it in a different color. Do you know that 20% of the population has this issue, and musical therapists have been able to help them, like giving them something that makes them go, oh, really, I didn't know it was that many. Something that's going to maybe shock them. One of the courses I run is called Get Clients Now, and that's it. Ideally, that's why you're networking. That's why you're doing what you do. You need more clients, your independence, and that's your livelihood. So you need to be able to get more. And we go into a lot of different strategic ways of getting clients. And sometimes it's where are we stuck? Like, is it filling the funnel, getting the clients in there? And then what do we do with them once we've got, or we've got them partway there? How do we catch them and keep them coming in? And we've got to be almost creative, a little bit more imaginative in our approach, because people will remember when you do something different. There's many different routes you can go, should you choose. But one of the best ways that I have found with getting into corporations or into some of these facilities where you want to talk to people is 99% of the time, the person you really want to get to give them your message is guarded. I say this, guarded by a gatekeeper. You might have heard of that before. But the gatekeeper, she's the receptionist at the front desk. She's the assistant. She's the person who can keep you out because they don't feel you should be bothering this other person. So they are the gatekeeper. They keep out people that they feel aren't supposed to be there. So if you can get on the right side of that person, and often just striking up a conversation with them, letting them know if you have something you can hand out. And I know this is going to sound really, really corny, but sometimes something like handing out a pen with your name on it, or even something more creative than that. You could, being as a musical therapist, you can get like little post-it notes with musical things on, or music note, and and just say, hey, I'm wanted to stop in and present to, who do I need to speak to, blah blah blah. Just catch their attention. Often being unique and being a little bit different is the way to get in the door, but you've got to sometimes get past that gatekeeper. So if you make them happy or smile, it'll go a long way. It's cheesy, but it works. There is, I just recently did a course on getting clients for people with, I don't want to say different jobs, but people getting clients when you're in your business is a whole lot different than getting clients if you're selling books or selling real estate or selling travel. Those are quite different. And I've worked with, all those people. But when it comes to what you do, it's a service that can't always be seen. It has to be experienced. Therefore, you have to present it in a different way. That can be challenging. There are, like I said, I do a course, and I do it on Zoom, and I do it over a 6-week period, but just 90 minutes, 60 to 90 minutes once a week. And the only reason I do it that way is because that's enough. And then I leave you with kind of homework and a workbook and everything, so you can actually carry out what we talked about and build. And the best way for me to tell you if that works is, I could tell you somebody who was in subtle, like healing energies, was unable, after 2 years in business, was getting nowhere. And she really thought she was going to have to close the doors and get a 9-to-5 job somewhere or work at a fast food place because she wasn't bringing in enough money and she was in the healthcare industry. And this lady, after she worked with me, and this is about a year and a half ago now, she has clients everywhere all the time. She's going like crazy. She has written me a lovely testimonial. There are several, but hers is one of the most heartwarming because when she came to me, she said, I'm going to have to close my doors. And I said, give me 6 weeks. And she did. And that is what made the difference for her. So not saying that can happen for everybody, but I have a few success stories. There's the classes I teach. I went to school to learn how to teach them in the States, and that was 4 years ago now. And I took them as a student first, then as a facilitator, and I'm one of 6 facilitators in Canada. There's only 2 in Ontario, so it's something I treasure, and I keep my license up and go to the forums so I can learn new things and what's trending to help people. I don't know if that's any help to anybody, but I'm just putting it out there. So any more questions? You're a tough crowd. Well, you're welcome, Julia. Okay, well, if everybody's comfortable, I guess, Julia, we can sign off for the evening. And like I said, I'm certainly open to receiving your emails and, you know, giving you a little bit more coaching on the side to help you overcome this whole networking and introducing yourself process.
Well, thank you very much, Janet. I know I sure learned a lot, and it gave me a lot to think about. So I might be emailing you later.
Okay.
All right. So we're done now. Everyone have a great evening. And for those of you who are attending next week's seminar, see you next week. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks. Night, everyone.